So let's talk about homeopathy. It's a system of medicine that's been around for over 200 years. On one hand, you have millions of people all over the world who absolutely swear by it. On the other, you have pretty much the entire scientific community saying it's impossible. So what is the real story here? I mean, you've definitely seen them, right? You're walking through a CVS or maybe Whole Foods, and there they are, these tiny, distinctive blue glass bottles. And they promise relief for pretty much everything, from a nagging cough to serious anxiety. And make no mistake, this isn't some small fringe thing. We're talking about a global industry worth billions and billions of dollars. So, what's actually in those little bottles? And how did this practice get so huge? To really get it, we need to rewind the clock, way back. To understand why homeopathy was such a game changer, you first have to see what it was up against. And let me tell you, the world of 19th century medicine was, well, it was pretty brutal. Yeah, they called it heroic medicine, but it was anything but gentle. Doctors were doing things like bloodletting, using harsh chemicals to make you, well, purge everything. And they were giving patients big doses of actual poisons like mercury and arsenic. A lot of the time, the cure was way, way worse than the disease. People were understandably desperate for a better option. And right into this chaos steps this man, Samuel Hahnemann. He was a German doctor, and he was completely horrified by what passed for medicine in his day. He was convinced there had to be a better way, and he decided he was going to build a whole new system from scratch. Hahnemann's new system was really built on two radical principles. And the first one, it all started with an experiment he did on himself. So the story goes, Hahnemann was playing around with cinchona bark. It's the stuff that gives us quinine, which was the go-to treatment for malaria. He took some himself, even though he was perfectly healthy, and what do you know? He started getting all the symptoms of malaria. Fever, chills, achy joints. That's when the light bulb went off for him. His big idea was similia similibus curantur, which basically means like cures like. The very thing that makes a healthy person sick, he figured, could make a sick person healthy, and that became the first pillar of homeopathy. But there was a pretty big problem. A lot of the things Hahnemann wanted to use were, well, they were toxic. So to make them safe, he came up with his second big idea, and this is, by far, the most controversial part of homeopathy. Okay, this is where things get really wild. It's called the law of infinitesimals, and it basically flips common sense completely upside down. Hahnemann argued that the less of the original stuff you have, the stronger the medicine gets. The idea was to dilute a substance over and over and over in water, and after each dilution, you shake it really hard. That shaking process is called succussion. He thought this process would release the substance's hidden medicinal powers. Now, just to give you a sense of what we're talking about, I mean, the scale of these dilutions is just mind-boggling. This quote really puts it in perspective. A 30x dilution, which is pretty standard, is like taking one single drop of your medicine and dissolving it in an ocean of water the size of the entire planet. And this is exactly where homeopathy slams head-on into modern science. There's a fundamental rule in chemistry called the Avogadro Limit. And what it means, basically, is that once you dilute something past a certain point, like a 12C dilution, the chance of even a single molecule of the original substance being left is practically zero. Chemically speaking, what you have left is just water. So you've got this new medicine that's super gentle, but scientifically, well, it seems impossible. And you know what? In the 19th century, that turned out to be a winning combination. It sparked a huge medical movement, especially here in America. You can really see the whole rise and fall story laid out here. Homeopathy hits the US in 1825 and just explodes. People loved it. In fact, it got so popular that regular doctors got scared. The American Medical Association, the AMA, was actually founded in 1847 in large part to fight back against the homeopaths. By 1900, homeopathy was at its absolute peak. But then, modern medicine started making huge leaps forward with stuff like germ theory and real antibiotics, and homeopathy just faded away. By 1920, its golden age was over. But just when you think the story's over, it's not. After laying low for decades, homeopathy came roaring back in the second half of the 20th century. And that brings us right to the heated debate we have today. It's almost like history repeating itself. The counterculture movement of the 1970s created this perfect storm. Just like in the 1800s, a lot of people started getting skeptical of mainstream medicine. Only this time, the bad guy was Big Pharma. People were searching for natural, holistic alternatives. And homeopathy, with its gentle, all-natural vibe, fit the bill perfectly. Again. Well, once it got this big again, it was only a matter of time before the government started paying attention. The U.S. Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, is the agency that polices advertising. And they started asking a pretty simple question. Hey, you're making all these claims that your product can cure things. Can you actually prove it? And this is a really big deal. In 2016, the FTC put its foot down. It said, look, if you're going to sell these products and say they work, you have to be totally upfront with people. You basically have to put a giant disclaimer on the box that says two things. One, there's no scientific evidence this thing works. And two, its claims are based on theories from the 1700s that modern doctors don't accept. That's a heck of a warning label. And the FTC's position is backed up by pretty much the entire global scientific community. One of the biggest moments came in 2015 from the Australian government's top medical research group. They did a massive review, looked at 225 different studies, and their final conclusion was blunt. They found no reliable evidence that homeopathy is effective. For anything. Period. So where does all this leave us? We're stuck with this huge, deep conflict. You have a practice that millions of people believe in, yet science says it just can't work. How do you even begin to square that circle? It really comes down to this paradox. In one corner, you have the believers. They say it's a gentle, holistic healing art. They'll tell you that the long, caring conversations with a practitioner and the very real power of the placebo effect are truly therapeutic. Then in the other corner, you have the scientific community. They call it a pseudoscience, flat out. They say its ideas violate the laws of physics and that study after study shows it works no better than a sugar pill. And look, this isn't just some fun academic debate. There are real-world stakes here. The number one concern for doctors and scientists is this. If someone with a serious illness chooses homeopathy instead of conventional medicine, they could be delaying a diagnosis or avoiding a treatment that's actually been proven to save lives. And that can have tragic consequences. Which leaves us with this final, really tricky question. We know for a fact that the placebo effect is real. It's powerful. A person can take something with no active ingredient at all and genuinely feel better. So if a remedy has literally nothing in it, but taking it makes a person feel better, what do we do about it? Is it a harmless comfort, or is it a dangerous deception? It's a question that cuts right to the heart of what we mean by medicine, belief, and healing itself.
Please like and subscribe.